Good morning, folks. Six Nations, Ireland and Italy, 57 points to 6. The sun has just started to come up here in NZ. I've just watched this game. Well, to be fair, it finished a wee while ago, but it was still dark, so sun is up. We'll talk about some of the key events, some stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on the game. Weird game. Weird game. Why do I say it was a weird game? If you watched it, you know why that was weird. I mean, if I'd said to you before the game, Ireland are going to win 57-6. Italy's away record in Dublin's been pretty bad. You would have thought, yeah, maybe. Could well happen, right? And if I'd said, well, 57-6, and it's going to be with an Italian red card, you'd probably say, okay, yeah, maybe that makes sense, 15v14. And then if you said, no, well, it's actually 15v13, because the red card comes after the starting hooker's already been replaced, and it's the replacement hooker that gets red carded, so the Italians have to play with 13 guys. You might actually say 57-6, 15v13 for pretty much an hour. It's not too bad for the Italians, and the end of the game was 15v12 because the Italians had a yellow card. So we'll get to that one in just a tick, I guess. The game started in kind of more regular fashion. Good crowd there, seemingly pretty nice weather. The game started pretty normal. I mean, it didn't take Ireland long to get on the board with Joey Carbery getting the opening try. Sheehan showed some good pace. I forget who chucked him the ball. Was it Ringrose? Ringrose went off with some blood early, but he came back on. Cracking start for the Irish, to be expected, maybe. They were big favourites going into this one. 7 points to 0. Ireland conceded a kind of few soft offside penalties, just kind of weren't firing at 100%. And they were keeping the Italian attack very quiet. That has to be said as well. Like, the Italian attack at some points was just kind of motoring on backwards, not the way they wanted to be going. And then Lucchese went off pretty early, which was kind of unfortunate, like 10 minutes maybe? I haven't actually looked up the exact number, but he went off very early. They wrapped his arm up. He's the starting hooker. Wrapped his arm up in his jersey, and he was clearly done for the day, and maybe for the Six Nations campaign. We'll have to wait and see. Wishing him all the best, because that could potentially be at least starting two hookers out the competition if Fiver gets a big old ban. And to be fair, the Italians kicked a long penalty, man. The fullback Padovani kicked a long penalty. It was maybe a surprising choice that they went for such a long shot. I didn't know he had those kind of legs in him, but good hit, and 7 points to 3 after 13 minutes. That's where the game was kind of normal. It was looking decent for Italy. Ireland was still looking, pretty comfortable, but 7-3. And then Fiver gets red carded. It's a high tackle on Sheehan. As soon as I saw it, I thought that's probably going to be red. Peter Amani said after the game there was no intent with it. Obviously, we all know by this point the refs don't control the game based on intent. They do it on the outcome. And it was just slightly too high. I mean, Sheehan dips ever so slightly as he braces for the contact, but as soon as I saw it, I thought it was going to be red, and sure enough, it was red. And what that meant by the time we got the first scrum was the Italians, unable to replace their hooker, had to sacrifice another player. It ends up being the winger Bruno, who gets replaced by Neymar, a prop, and then they have to sacrifice a second player because they're going uncontested scrums. So the number 8, Halafihi, ends up getting sent off by the ref after much discussion between the ref and Lamaro, the captain. Now, there's probably a little bit of frustration at that law. I remember why they put this in, and I don't think I've ever seen it used for this exact situation. But the reason they used this, they made this law that, you got to sacrifice another player if you're going to uncontested scrums. To put it bluntly, it's because too many coaches took the piss with the laws. When their scrums were under pressure, they would feign injuries to their one of their props. Say, we can't. They'll be under the pump at scrum time. Oh, we can't contest anymore. We got no fit players in that position. Then the opposition scrum totally got depowered. There's multiple examples of this. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. You essentially take a weapon out of the opposition's game if you are under the pump. And to combat that, that's why we have this law. Now, to be fair, the only times I've seen it is when they are injured or pretending to be injured, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's obviously legit injured, but I've never quite seen it for a red card. So I have to wonder if the lawmakers need to look at that. I mean, I'll give you an example, just quickly. In Super Rugby years ago, Chiefs are playing the Hurricanes. Chiefs are leading towards the end of the game. 5 minutes to go. They're under the pump. A medic comes on, tells their prop something, and then he suddenly goes to the ground injured. He's the replacement prop, tight head prop. And then, he tells the ref that he's injured, and then he ends up going off. So they bring on the replacement loose head, and they say he can't play tight head, even though he has played tight head before. And the opposition, the Hurricanes, even call him out, saying, I know this guy's played tight head. He says, I can't play tight head. So the Hurricanes are unable to do that. I think Wales did it against Georgia once as well. Gatland, I think, denied it, but Wales did it against Georgia when they had a really close game years ago. 2017? I don't know. 16? So, yeah, that's why that law is there. But I've only seen it for injuries. I haven't seen it for a red card. And I can't imagine an attacking side would deliberately get one of their guys red carded just to depower a scrum, right? Would you send on your replacement prop and say, go get yourself red carded because then we can't replace you? I don't think so, but maybe that's one that needs a tweak. I don't know. Sorry, I've gone on about that too long, but ultimately what that means is Italy are facing an hour with 13 guys away from home in Dublin. So, yeah, that's why the law is there, to stop coaches cheating, basically. And it's happened. I'm telling you, it's happened before. So there's a reason it's there. I've never quite seen it happen in this exact fashion. And this is one of the unintended consequences where it's punished a team who legit didn't mean to do that high tackle when it happened, and their starting hooker got injured early. It's a pretty rare situation, but it's there as a deterrent to coaches mucking around with scrums under the pump, essentially. Once they're into 13 men, surprise, surprise, Ireland get a try through Gibson-Park on 21. That was James Lowe down the left wing who set that one up 14-3. Lowry got one on debut, and to be fair, he had to beat Bricks in a one-on-one tackle, so it wasn't the extra space, although Bricks is having to cover. It's starting to look like the floodgates are going to open. 19-3. Carbery misses a few conversions, to be fair. He doesn't have the best day with the boot. And it's just a weird one with Ireland, because when their hands stuck, they tended to score tries. But often, I don't think they'll be happy with that scoreline. They could have been 80 if they'd taken their chances. Like, too often, I feel like Ireland, didn't really draw the man. Like, you've got two extra guys. Draw the man and then pass. But they would just kind of shovel the ball out wide. And the Italians were pretty good at kind of holding off, kind of keeping their shoulder turned. So if the guy straightens, maybe he goes. But, yeah, trying to mark two guys or three guys, they did remarkably well there, despite the fact that, they've been beaten by more than 50 points. Before half-time, Omani gets one as well on 38. It was, I forget who carried that one. It was Ringrose with the final pass, and it was kind of a bonus point before half-time. Van der Flier, I think, had a good carry. He gets man of the match. So, half-time, it's 24-6 because Italy opt for a penalty, which is maybe not bad damage limitation given the circumstances. I mean, run meters at half-time are 341 to 40. Italy have had nothing. Possession 60% Ireland, territory 62% Ireland. The Italian tackling percentage is 89, which is not bad given they've played half the half with with two men down, pretty much. Second half breaks, starts with a big hit on Ringrose. Lamaro is there to get a turnover. So the Italians never stopped the fight. They even opted for the three from that Lamaro breakdown win, but Garbisi pushed that one wide, which was unfortunate. But Fischetti was winning breakdown penalties. He was getting pumped. Neymar, the prop, who's having to do the line-out throws as hooker, he was remarkably good at that. he like acting scrum half, chucked the ball out the back of his hand. He was the pillar at the side of rucks at times, like, you know, blocking the charge down. I mean, he probably learnt that one because they conceded a charge down try later. But yeah, Neymar was into a bit of everything, which was kind of pleasing to see. I wrote a note that Ireland's just not a bit guilty of just, I don't know, maybe just being a bit easy. Sometimes it's weirdly disruptive to be playing a team down on numbers and you maybe take it the soft options, chuck in the offloads which don't need to go, and then they get knocked on or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Just not quite clinical enough. I think Andy Farrell, despite that scoreline, will still be not kind of entirely satisfied. But I mean, Lowe gets 2 tries. Lowry gets a double that was from a scrum, you know, where there's just numbers out wide to be expected. Baird gets one, like I mentioned, that's the charge down. He's got wheels he's very mobile for a big second row, isn't he? Like the commentary team I had on kind of compared him to a centre. And then Treadwell ended up getting one at the death. Stain got yellow carded for a deliberate knock on. So yeah, it was 15v12 at the end, and that led to the last try. But I mean, credit to Italy. They held the Irish up on like 79 minutes. They were fighting right till the death, but they couldn't kick it out, so they ended up conceding the final try. Pretty ruthless from Ireland. But as I said, they probably left a few points out there with some soft offloads or just bad hands, or, you know, I think Sexton added a bit of, I don't know, a bit of clinical approach when he came on. But yeah, it's a weird game. Run meters 685 to 146. Possession 61% Ireland. Territory 64%. Clean breaks 10 zip. Defenders beaten 22 to 10. I'm surprised Italy got 10, to be fair. Italy still tackle 89%, make 181 tackles. So credit to them. 112 made by Ireland. Penalties conceded is 9-8, so not that high. Lowry, like I mentioned on his debut, 2 tries, a try assist, 75 run meters, a clean break, and 3 defenders beaten. Not the toughest circumstances, but still, man, you can only play the team you're up against. Doris, 96 run meters. Van der Flier, man of the match, 12 from 13 tackles for him. Neymar, the prop, as I mentioned, apart from the lineup being at 92%, he makes 14 from 15 tackles. Lamaro makes 19, but he misses a bunch. He misses 8, but remember, he's having to cover loads of space. So, yeah, I don't know what to think about this one, other than to say the reason that law is there is because of people being cheats, basically, in the past. That's why it's there. Should it be there for red cards? Maybe that's a question. If it's there for injuries, which are kind of hard to determine. Like I mentioned that Chiefs and Hurricanes game in the past, like the ref is in no position to tell anyone what they can play or if they're injured or what, right? The ref can only follow the guidelines given. So like that ref, when was told by the other players, I've seen this guy play tight head, he can play tight head, what's the ref supposed to do? He said, can you play tight head? The guy says, nope. So yeah, the ref just had to go uncontested way back in the day. Yeah, Ireland are away to England next in a couple of weeks. That'll be an interesting game because, as I said, I think Ireland will be hard to judge, but will be a bit frustrated not to be a bit more clinical in this one, despite scoring almost 60. And England will certainly look to take it up a gear from what they showed us against Wales, despite the fact that both these sides got the wins. Italy will be home to Scotland. Hopefully they've got a team. They've got loads of guys out injured and now potentially be missing 2 hookers. Tough times for Kieran Crowley, but yeah, that was it. You guys let me know your thoughts. What do you reckon? Like I said, the law is a weird one. But the origins are in guys taking the piss. So maybe it needs to be adjusted, but that's just a bit of context. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.